Welcome everyone to this month's Rare Birds Mentor Deep Dive. We're honouring your personal vision and values. My name's Tegan. I am the Partnership and Community Manager here at Inspiring Rare Birds. And today I'm joined by Di Schinella, founder, mentor and business consultant, who will be exploring why your vision and values isn't just a nice to have, but is fundamental to thriving in both personal and professional spheres. To begin with, and in the spirit of reconciliation, Rare Birds would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia. And I would like to recognise the Awabakal people, the traditional custodians of where I'm broadcasting from today, and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay respect to their elders, past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. For those that are new to the Inspiring Rare Birds community, our mission is to support and promote diversity and inclusivity where opportunities in entrepreneurship and leadership exist equally for everyone. We are best known for our mentoring programs, but we also offer a range of educational masterclasses. We host online and in-person events, providing people with the opportunity to build their networks and grow in the Rare Birds community. If you'd like to learn more about what we do or be involved, please indicate your interest in the survey at the end of today's session, or you're welcome to reach out to me or anyone in the Rare Birds team. We'd always love to have a chat. Speaking of chats, if you take a look over to the right-hand side of your screen, you'll see a little area for chats. You can introduce yourself there, you can comment and connect with others. There is also a Q&A tab, so feel free to add in any questions throughout the presentation today. And towards the end of the session, we will have a Q&A time where Di is able to answer anything that you would like to know more about. Now I'd like to introduce Di, who has been referred to as the Mary Poppins of business mentoring. Di is a seasoned business strategist with over 20 years of experience in sales, marketing, partnerships, and leadership. Drawing on her wealth of expertise and diverse experiences, Di founded her own consulting business several years ago to empower others to build purpose and value-driven careers or businesses without sacrificing lifestyle, health, and fun. So welcome, Di, to today's deep dive.
Thanks, Tegan. That was a very lovely introduction. And hello, everyone. As Tegan mentioned, I'm Di Schinella, and I am a business strategist with over 20 years of, actually 25 years experience now in business. And I'm also the host of your deep dive session today, which is all about why having a vision is important, not only for your personal life, but also your professional life. Now, because part of my overall vision and one of my values, is to give back, I will be also providing some practical steps on how to create your own vision if you're starting it from scratch. Or, I'll be providing tips on how to refresh your vision if you already have an established vision and know your core values. So before we officially kick off, I wanted to share with you why you could be possibly here today. Now, there are many reasons as to why you could be here. You could be thinking of a professional or a personal change and you're not sure how to go about that. You could be starting, growing, or even exiting a business and need some clarity on, how to get that going. You could be here simply out of curiosity because you don't have a personal vision and you want some tips on how to create one for yourself. Or possibly you're here because you do have a very clear vision for yourself and know your core values, and it's a timely reminder to check in with it. You could also be here because you're feeling some disconnection between your values and your vision and what's going on in your current day-to-day life. You could have started a new mentor-mentee partnership at Rare Birds and wanted a framework as to, how to kick off those first few calls together. Or you could simply be here because you're looking for some inspiration and clarity as to what's next for you. Whatever the reason, everyone is welcome. And Tegan has actually created a poll for us. So if you are inclined today, we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to know exactly why you're here today. And as those poll results come through, I thought now would be a great time to share a little more about myself. So, and how I came to, realize that having a vision is so important, not only for your professional life, but also your personal life. So, as Tegan mentioned, clients have referred to me as the Mary Poppins of business consulting and mentoring. And trust me, I've heard all the jokes, like a little bit of dye helps the business advice go down in the most delightful way. But seriously, my career started in my family's business at the ripe old age of 16. So you could say that I've come full circle because now I operate my own mentoring and consulting business. So working in my family's business, that evolved, to a 25 plus year career across sales, marketing, leadership, and partnership roles with startups and all the way through to global travel and tourism brands. Some of those brands include the Globus family of brands, Rocky Mountaineer and Aurora Expeditions, spanning coach touring and river cruising, luxury rail journeys through Western Canada, and expedition cruising through the polar regions. In 2010, I actually co-launched Rocky Mountaineer's inaugural sales and marketing office for APAC here in Sydney, Australia. And in 2017, I led the sales, I pioneered the head of sales role at Aurora Expeditions, and I led the sales team to historic milestones, including hitting revenue north of 8 figures for the first time in the company's history. And yes, I was very lucky to have experienced all those products and travel to all 7 continents, including Antarctica, where I was actually sneezed on by a humpback whale. True story. And I broke up a king penguin fight. So if we ever get to meet in person, I'll definitely share those stories with you over a glass of wine. Now, as Tegan mentioned, I have my own business where I provide business consulting and mentoring services to others. So I'm really want to encourage others and support others, build successful and fulfilling lives and businesses as well as careers. Now, even though I had quite a rewarding and successful career, during and leading up to the pandemic, I was actually working over 60 hours a week, which led to some serious health issues, including migraines, which would leave me in bed for 3 days a month. That's something like 864 hours a year I was losing because of health issues. So, the need to prioritize my health issues actually pushed me towards starting, my own mentoring and consulting business. And because I needed to really balance, find that work-life balance and really work on my health, I needed a change and I needed a new direction. And embarrassingly, I actually didn't know where to start. And the reason for that, and look, there are so many reasons for that, right? And we probably need a whole nother deep dive session just on that. And some of these reasons might resonate with you. For example, I was time poor. I was on autopilot a lot of the time. I did things that others expected of me. I threw myself into work, to distract myself. I also had a fear of failure and judgment, and the list goes on, right? So, and there's so much out there, right? Like you'll probably agree, right, that when you are trying to make that career move, or you're needing direction, or you want to know how to start a business, there's so much information out there, and it's also can be really confusing. Not only that, there's so many distractions as well, thanks to Mark Zuckerberg and his friends. So sometimes it's really hard for us to find that time, find the space, and find the direction that we need. So luckily for me, I found a mentor in 2019. And when I worked with my mentor, she really allowed me to, and she helped me to find the time and the space I needed to articulate my vision. So really work on, what was possible for me, what did I really want, and more importantly, it was the need. I needed to change, and creating or articulating my vision, really for the first time in my life, helps me to get the direction or the change that I needed, and helps get clarity on what I wanted next. So with, having a vision, and not only, helped me identify what I wanted and needed, but it also helped me get really clear on what my core values were. And it helped me get clarity on then how to create a plan so I could make my vision come to life and I could also live and work by my values. So now I actually work less. I travel more with my hubby. I take my business out on the road with me. And more importantly, I got back, well, I no longer lose 864 hours of my year to those nasty migraines. Plus, I now have the capacity to give back. And I am celebrating 2 years as a mentor with Rare Birds this year. And if you'd like to know more about my mentor-mentee partnerships, Tegan has actually earmarked or bookmarked a link. She'll drop that in the chat, actually. It's a link to an article written by American Express Business Channel. They interviewed myself and Paul, the owner of Party Hire, and they specialize in silent disco parties for both children and adults. They wanted to interview us because of the success that we had with our mentor-mentee partnership. I helped Paul not only increase his revenue year on year by 43%, but I helped him diversify his revenue streams, especially after COVID. So all his eggs weren't sitting in one basket. And more importantly, I helped Paul get back over 2,000 hours of his time a year. So and so, as I mentioned, if you do, want more information about my partnership with Paul, feel free to have a look at the article that Tegan just dropped into the chat. So overall, having a vision for myself, as I mentioned, it not only allowed me to imagine what was possible for me and to dream big, but it also gave me really good clarity as to what was really important to me, and then also how to create a plan to make it happen. So what exactly is a vision? Now, a lot of people, a lot of experts out there will say that having a vision is just a business concept, when in reality, it's a personal concept as well, or it's a concept that you can use in your personal lives. And there are many different explanations. There are different definitions as to what a vision is. Some can be complicated as well. But after countless hours of research and study, working with experts, working with clients and mentees on their vision, and even working on my own vision, a vision is simply this. It is a mental image of a future desired state that an individual, company, or organization aspires to achieve. So in other words, it's the future, the ideal you or the ideal future that you want to create, that you want to be. It's the experience of life that you want for yourself. And with having a vision, a clear, compelling vision at that, it also helps you identify your core values. So, and I'll talk a little bit more about core values later on. And just like us, our visions, as we change, as we grow, as we evolve, our vision and values also grow and evolve. So you can think of your visions, think of your values as something that's evergreen, something that you can refresh at any time. Now, creating a vision might sound frivolous or it might sound like a waste of time, but experts actually say that by having a vision, it's actually one of the most important factors in achieving success behind actionable tasks and accountability partners. Now, I'm a practical person. I love research, evidence, facts, figures, data, you name it. So I wanted to share some of the science behind having a vision with you today. Now, remember, having a vision is a mental image of a future desired state that an individual, a company, or an organization aspires to achieve. In a medically reviewed article written by BetterHelp, which is an online psychology platform, they mention research into the benefits of visualization involves using brain imaging studies to monitor its impact on neural pathways. The latest scientific findings indicate that visualizing ourselves doing something not only alters our brain's pathways, but also forges new connections that are beneficial for making our desired reality an outcome. So it's actually quite, just going back on that, I wanted to share with you a really good real life example of this. So, in a research paper titled The Neuroscience Behind Visualization, scientists worked with two groups over a 12-week period. The first group were told to exercise their hand, physically exercise their hand to improve their hand strength. The second group were told to visualize exercising their hand in order to improve their hand strength too. Now, both groups were told, exercise for a minimum of 15 minutes a day over, 5 days a week for a period of 12 weeks. At the end of the 12 weeks, what the scientists found is that group two, so the group who were told to visualize exercising their hand, actually improved their strength by 35%. The second group, who were told to physically exercise their hand, they improved their strength as well, but only marginally over group two. So it's quite trippy to think how powerful our brains are, and also, how powerful it is to be a vision, to have a vision. And so what that research, or what those group participants actually proved, is that when we are imagining ourselves engaged in an activity, it stimulates the regions of the brain responsible for movement or for action. So it's effectively warming up the brain to perform the activity. This cognitive practice enhances our ability to coordinate the necessary steps to achieve our goals. Now, what is a presentation without some celebrity endorsements? A lot of successful entrepreneurs, athletes, celebrities like Oprah Winfrey, even Michael Jordan, Muhammad Ali, they all recommend having a vision. And a lot of successful people also attribute their success to having a vision. Oprah once famously said that the most important question you can ask yourself is, what do I really want? Once you establish with yourself what the answer to that is, everything you do, every choice you make, moves you in the direction of what you say your vision is. Now, just like I always say, why should celebrities have all the fun? If having a vision is good enough for Oprah Winfrey, then it's good enough for us, right? So, why is having a vision important? And there are many reasons as to why it's important, and I'd like to share a few of these with you today. If you don't have a vision for yourself, or even for your business, what ends up happening is that you allow external circumstances or other people to direct the course of your life. So you can see or refer to your vision as your own personal roadmap to success. With an end destination or an end goal in mind, it will make it easier for you to, create a well-defined and a clear path for yourself. Not only does a vision provide direction, but it also steers you towards making the best decisions and taking the best action in order to make your vision come to life. You've probably heard of that famous saying, if you aim for nothing, then you'll hit it every time. So you can also think of your personal vision as a tool to help you get somewhere you actually want to be. When you write a vision, or when you've articulated what your vision is, then you can also clearly identify what your long and short-term goals are. So, and it also, what it helps to get clear on are the steps needed in order to make those goals become a reality. So, for example, say as part of your overall vision and values, health and fitness or well-being is part of that, and one of your goals is to run a marathon by the end of the year. So then the steps needed to make that goal happen might include things like paying for your marathon fee, seeking out a running coach, going to the gym a couple of times a week, and even buying new cool runners. So not only does vision help us identify our goals, our both short and long term, but it also helps us take intentional and purposeful action towards achieving those goals, which lead to achieving our overall vision. So this leads me to values. Now, to be honest, values needs a whole other deep dive session of its own. Tegan. But seriously, what I'd like to share with you about values today is that, value, when you have a vision for yourself, it also becomes clear as to what your core values are at any given time in your personal or professional life. And core values, as we know, are the beliefs that drive our decision making as well as our behaviors. So, without knowing you personally, I could say that some of your core values are learning or even curiosity, because out of the million things that you could be doing today, you're either attending this deep dive session live or you're listening to it at a later date because it's important to you. You've probably, established from my presentation so far that some of my core values are adventure through my travels, spending time with family, traveling more with my hubby, and even contribution or giving back, because I'm hosting this deep dive session today. And I also created my business as a way to give back to others. Also well-being, right? Because that was one of the reasons why I started my business, is to improve my health. So, what I want to say really on that note with values is that what we value is what we prioritize, and what we prioritize is what we end up actioning, right? Because it's important to us. So, that leads me to decision making. Vision is also really important, as well as values, when it comes to decision making, because when you're really clear on what you're setting out, what you're trying to achieve, and then it becomes easier to make decisions, because you'll know what you're a hell yes to and a hell no to. You'll know what's aligned with your vision and values and what's not aligned with your vision and values. So, for example, say as part of your vision and one of your values is adventure and to travel, and you want to travel and work overseas for the next 12 months, but an employer or a client demands office time from you, then you'll know that that demand isn't aligned with your vision and values, and so it'll be easier for you to make the right decision. Not only does a vision help with decision making, but it also helps with the speed at which you make those decisions. So you can make decisions much more quickly than in the past. And for those who own a business, how essential it is to make decisions quickly in your business. This also leads me to prioritization and time management. So once you know what's in alignment with your vision and values and what's not, it becomes easier to prioritize your time. It becomes easier to identify the activity, the steps, the actions, the projects the tasks that you need to work on every day in order to hit your goals and in order to, make your vision come to life. So, and more importantly, it actually helps you identify what can take a backseat. And when we know what we need to work on every day, it helps us manage our time more effectively, because we know exactly what we need to work on and what we don't need to work on. And the last thing I wanted to share with you on this slide is motivation. So with a vision, not only does it help with things like goals and decision making and time management and prioritization, but it also helps with motivation. So when you have a really compelling vision, when it's really clear, when you know what's important and how your actions are going to impact you, then you're more likely to be motivated to take action, especially during challenging times. So, just like in life, we are going to go through challenges in both our career and businesses. So, having a vision will help you motivate you, because it's not only something to, work towards, but having a vision is also something to look forward to, especially during challenging times or when you're just not filling up for it. And when your values, when your vision are aligned, then that's going to help create a successful professional life, a successful and fulfilling personal life as well. And one side note on this as well that I wanted to share is, with a vision, if you're like me, if you get distracted by all the shiny things, then having a vision is going to help you stay on track as well. It's going to help shut out the noise. It's going to help shut out all those distractions that we have in our daily life. And when you think about it, having a vision is really, it's the why behind everything we do. So you can even look at a vision as the why or the purpose for your life, for your business, or for your career. So how do we create a vision? Now, once again, out there, the big internet world, or out there in online and in the business world, there are many I guess many suggestions, many guidelines as to how to create a vision. Now, a lot of people in the business world would say that a vision needs to focus on the next 5 to 10 years. Sometimes this can feel overwhelming. It can also seem overwhelming for some people. So, what I'd like to do is start with the next 12 months. And the reason why I like to start with the next 12 months is because it feels and seems more achievable. You can get really detailed as to, what you really want across all aspects of your life. And when we talk about the next 12 months, we can also get really visceral. We can engage all of our 5 senses. So we can, talk about, what it looks like, what does it sound like, feel like, smell like, etc. And you can also use the prompt. Today is the 13th of June, 2025. So, and we're also going to be speaking our future reality in present tense. So as if we're looking back over the last 12 months, having achieved everything that we set out in our vision. The reason why we do that is because you can actually trick your mind into believing you have already achieved what you want. In other words, a part of your brain confuses imagination with reality, which instigates behavioral changes, propelling you forward towards the future you envisage. So not only do I want you to think about, what does the next 12 months look like for me, and I want you to speak your future reality into present tense, but I also want you to think about some key elements as you write your vision. And what I've done is broken down these key elements into, just 3 of them, right? Because I wanted to make writing a vision really easy for you, as well as for myself and for my clients and mentees I work with. So when writing your vision, think about the places that you want to create, or the environments that you want to create, the environments where you find yourself. So, for example, it could be, where are you working? Are you working from home? Are you working in the office, or is it a bit of both? Where are you living? Is it an apartment? Is it a house? Is it by the beach, in the city, in the countryside? Or are you, hashtag van lifing it? Places is also where you holiday. So whatever it is, think of places as, where you aspire to be and the environment that you want to create for yourself. The second element is projects. So projects is all about, what are you currently working on? So it could be a new job, a new career path. It could be that promotion you're going for. You could be growing a business, or working on a new business idea. You can also think about projects as, how am I spending my free time? Am I working on a family project or a community project? Maybe it's a creative project. It could also be a project for well-being and health or fitness. So it's really all about, what are you working on right now, and what are you excited to be working on? And the last question under projects is, how are you making the biggest impact, right? Because when we talk about purpose, and look, purpose is another deep dive session of its own, but when we talk about purpose, when we talk about a higher why, you'll always find that it's in connection with others, right? It's in service of others. So that's why I want you to think about, when you are working or going through the questions around projects, I want you to think about, how can I make the biggest impact as well? And this leads me to the third or last element of writing a vision, which is people. So people is basically, who do you enjoy spending time with? Who do you want to impact? Are you impacting clients and customers, or people that you work with? Are you impacting family members, your local or global community? It's also about, who are you celebrating your day-to-day wins with, and your day-to-day joys with? And last but not least, and more importantly, I would like you to ask yourself, like, how do you feel about yourself now that you've achieved your vision? Because at the end of the day, a vision is just for you. It's personal, it's subjective. And when we think about our achievements over the last 12 months or over our lifetime, it actually helps create those those good feel chemicals, right, in our brain. So it creates that positive feedback loop, which then gives us the confidence and then gives us the momentum and the ability to take even more action. So what's next? Now, probably a couple of you will guess what I'm going to say next, but it is all about action. So what you could do, because action is what I mentioned earlier, similar to motivation. Action is what's going to help you get closer to achieving your vision and to achieving your goals. And it's through action that we give us the evidence that to show us that we can do it, we can accomplish things. And it's through action that creates that momentum, it creates the confidence to keep going. So what are the small actions that you can take today after this deep dive session? So number one is you can take a screenshot of the guideline, the vision guideline that I have up on the screen now, and I'll leave it there for a couple of more seconds so you can take a photo of it if you haven't already. And if need be, at the end of this deep dive session, we can always come back to this slide. So one is take a screenshot. Two is diarise. I'd like you to diarise at least 15 minutes a day in your diaries today and for the next couple of days to write on your vision or to refresh it. And the reason why I recommend 15 minutes is because it actually takes our brains a minimum of 15 minutes to switch between tasks. And I also recommend that when you are diarising time in your calendars or in your diaries, that you activate the reminders. Now, reminders actually help facilitate action, and repetition is the mother of all skills. So when you combine reminders with repetition, then that's actually going to help create those healthy new habits we need in order to take new action, like writing or refreshing your vision. And last but not least is the action that you can take today is to connect with me. If you do have any questions about your vision, if you would like some additional support on how to create one, how to refresh it, or you're just wanting to have a one-on-one chat with me about business or career strategies, then feel free to drop me an email. You can connect with me on LinkedIn as well. I'm the only Diana Schinella on there, so I'm really easy to find on LinkedIn. And last but not least, because as you know, one of my values is contribution and giving back exclusively to the Rare Birds community, I am offering free one-on-one sessions with myself. And I believe Tegan is going to bookmark in the sticky notes the link to my calendar. So you can go straight into my calendar, book in a one-on-one chat with me. And look, if there aren't any times available, or you might be listening to this deep dive session after the fact and all the times have gone, then or there's a time that doesn't suit you, feel free to contact me and I'm sure we can work something out. So my final thought for today as we end this deep dive session is this, and it comes from the legendary Nelson Mandela. Action without vision is only passing time. Vision without action is merely daydreaming, but vision with action can change the world. Thank you everyone for your time. It's been a pleasure to share something with you that I'm really passionate about, that has helped me and also helped my clients and mentees that I've worked with. Drop in the chat what your key takeaways were from today. I'd love to hear from you. And now I'm going to hand back over to Tegan. Thanks, Tegan.
Amazing, Di. Thank you so much. There's some really great insights there, I guess, on how our brains work and what we can do to make sure that we're sticking to these visions that we're wanting to put in place. So I guess reflecting back on how we actually get up and running with these things, what would you say that the do's and don'ts are when writing your personal vision?
Yeah, it's a really good question because, and look, we could speak for another hour about the do's and don'ts when it comes to vision, but I'll just because time is of essence, I'll share my top 4 with you. So the first one is, find a location that's inspiring, that is quiet, because when you're writing your vision, you want to be inspired, you want to get those creative juices flowing, but also you want to be somewhere where you're not going to be distracted and you can really just focus on, what it is that I want for the next 12 months and what I'm hoping to achieve. So that would be my first one, is find a quiet, inspiring location. I mean, I know for me, I love sitting by the beach, or in a quiet park, because I love nature, I love outdoors, and it really just helps me clear my head, get focused, and, help get those creative juices going. The number two, I guess, do or don't would be, and this is going to sound obvious, but write it for you, write it for yourself. And I know that like I said, sounds obvious, it sounds trivial, but you'll find, especially if it's your first time writing a vision for yourself, sometimes you'll find that you're writing about, what you should be doing or what others expect of you. So I want you to come into, writing your vision from a place of what it is that I really want, that I want to achieve. Because, when we're feeling happy and fulfilled, that's going to have a positive ripple effect, for the people around us. So, it's that cliche saying, right? You need to put your oxygen mask on first before you can help others. The third do and don't would be, think about, the future, think about the end goal or the end result. Don't get caught up in the, oh, how am I going to do this, or what do I need to do this, because that will come in time. When you write your vision, when you come from a place of what does my ideal future look like, or who's the person that I ultimately want to be, when you come from that place, it becomes much clearer as to what the next steps are. So really think about that end result or end goal. And the last do or don't would be, well, it's a do, have fun. Have fun with it. Like, be gentle on yourself. It might just take a little while for you to get into the groove of it. You can even just start with bullet points and then work from there. I would also say, enjoy enjoy your favorite beverage, have it in hand whilst you're writing your vision, and also reward yourself, because as human, we inherently love incentives and rewards. So have a little reward for yourself once you've completed your vision. It might be opening that nice, bottle of wine that you've wanted to open for a long time. It could be shouting yourself a nice meal, whatever it is, just have like a mini rewards and incentive system in place.
When you're kicking off writing your vision, what is your thoughts on that overthinking of it? So this obviously could be quite a big thing, especially for someone who hasn't done it before, and you could go down the rabbit hole. So what are your tips there to try and not overthink?
Yeah, I think it's just, like I mentioned, just starting with bullet points, right? Like, think about, and look, I know sometimes, and I've experienced this in life as well, like sometimes because of everything happening in our lives and all the distractions, sometimes we lose sight as to what it is, we really want to do, what we really want. So a good way to kind of, where to start or where to not overthink it so much is just to look at someone in your life, whether they're close or you're, admiring them from afar. Like, look at someone that you admire. What are they doing in their daily life? What are their personality traits? Like, how are they, making an impact? So just kind of think about, well, who do I aspire to be? And then from there, you can start to jot down what those, bullet points are, and kind of take from them, just some inspiration rather than duplication, just, being inspired by what they're doing and the person they're being, and kind of bring that into your vision, and just simply write bullet points to start with. And use the guideline, the three elements: people's, places, and projects, and just ask yourself those questions and write it down as it comes.
So when would you say would be the best time to write a vision?
Yeah, today? No. You can see I'm a bit of a joker. But seriously, you can start today. And I actually wouldn't wait until like the new financial year, which is around the corner, or the start of the calendar year. You can actually just start today, right? Especially if you are looking for new purpose, new direction, if you're going through a change or you're looking to make change, then that's the best time to start. It's really when you are thinking of making change, or looking for something new. So that's the best time to work on your vision. And I would also say, you can check in on it on a daily basis. So I would suggest printing out a visual of it. The reason why I suggest writing your vision and printing it out is because there was a study done by Gail Matthews, who's a psychology professor at the Dominican University of California. And through her research, she actually proved that when we write things down, we're 42% more likely to achieve those things that we write down. So that's why I suggest, having a daily reminder of it, because one, having that visual reminder is going to, remind you why you're doing what you're doing. But also it just, it's good to have a daily reminder of it. And then also I would say it's, anytime's a good time to start it, but also I would recommend to check in on a daily basis, but then also check in with it every 3 to 6 months. Because, just like our health, just like, our goals, our career goals, or even our business plans, it makes sense to check in on a 3 or 6 month basis to make sure that, we are progressing towards that vision. And also, you can measure, right? You can measure how far you've progressed and celebrate it along the way as well. But just going back to your original question is, the best time is anytime you need to make a change or you're looking for a new direction.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier that, your vision may not necessarily line up with requirements that you have or commitments that you've made. The example being if you want to travel, but your work requires you in the office. So how do you, I guess, bring other people or those around you on board with your vision?
Yeah, so it's interesting, right? Because when you write your vision, you should be excited by it, right? And so sometimes it's hard. It's hard for others to get excited by your vision. So what I would suggest there is think about, it needs to be a win-win situation. So think about the other party and what floats their boat. How does working on your vision or achieving your vision help the other person, whether it's a spouse, a partner, a colleague, a boss, whoever it is that you're trying to enroll into your vision, always speak to the benefits. So, for example, when I wanted to start my own business, it was easy to enroll my hubby into it because I wasn't going to be working 60-plus-hour weeks, and my health was going to improve. I was just going to be a nicer person to be around. So it was easy to enroll him into that. And also I freed up my time because I wasn't wasting 864 hours a year, in bed due to, health reasons. And I was able to use that time towards, projects around our home or with family. And so it's thinking about not only what's going to benefit you by living out your vision, but then enrolling the other party into how your vision is going to, benefit or help them.
Yeah, great. All right. Well, we might throw to those still online. If anyone's got any questions, feel free to pop them in the Q&A or in the chat. And Di, I'm sure you're more than happy to answer anything that is burning away there. So while we just kind of wait for you to have a think, if there's anything you'd like to ask Di, I know that when some people registered, they did pop a few questions in their registration. So a couple of those, Di, is how to know if your organisation is not operating on values, and what do you do in that sort of situation?
It's a really good question because and it sounds like, without knowing this person personally, it sounds like they're an employee or they might be a consultant of an organisation, and it sounds like they believe the organisation isn't operating by the values that they've identified as the organisation values. So I would say, and look, it is a little tricky, but what I would say is, speak to whoever in the company created those values. It could be the founder, the CEO, even the marketing team. If you don't have access to those people, then I would recommend speaking to the person that you directly report into, and come to that conversation with curiosity versus judgment, and ask them, do they think the organization is operating by their values? or do they need to be updated? And either way, you'll get the answer, right? You'll know where you stand. So if they think that yes, the organization is operating by its values, then you know where you stand, and you have options, right? You can stay, which is not the best option, right? Because it might not lead to success and fulfillment, but that's an option on the table. The other options are you can do your research and look for organizations, organizations who have values that, align with your own values, but also organizations that work by their values. And you can always ask people who work in those organizations. If you're at the interview stage, you can even ask the interviewer, what are the company values or organization values, and give me examples of how you live and work by those values. As previous employer myself, I would always ask, valued based questions in interviews. So
yeah.
The candidates can also, ask the interviewer those value-based questions as well. But yeah, it does sound like there's a bit of a disconnect between this person's own values and the values of the organization, and then actually the organization operating by those values. So, be curious and check in with people that you work with and kind of get an idea of, do they think the organization is operating by its values? And you could even suggest, let's have a brainstorming session. Let's bring, these values in more alignment, or let's update them.
Take the initiative.
100%.
Yeah. So Susie's popped a question in there. What should a completed vision look like? 3 sentences, 3 paragraphs? What does it look like once you're done?
Yeah, great question. And the reason why I deliberately left this out is because, look, it's really up to you, right? As I mentioned, if you kind of are, struggling to get started with a vision, then just start with a couple of bullet points around people, projects, and places, right? Just a couple of them. And then what I would also suggest is, once you've kind of warmed up to the idea of writing a vision, try to at least, get a 1 A4 page vision written. The reason why I suggest that is because you can really cover all aspects of your life, career, business, relationships, family, community contribution. So at least if you write 1 A4 page worth of your vision, then you can really incorporate all those elements or aspects of your professional and personal life.
Yeah. Amanda's also put a question in. She says, "Thanks, Di. Amazing presentation." She gets nervous. She gets nervous dreaming big, as she kind of thinks, is it possible? How common do you think?
It's very common. I mean, I've experienced it myself. The clients and the mentees I've worked with, they've also experienced it. And, I guess when it comes to vision, it's really allowing yourself to think, what's possible for me. You have to, just like magicians do, right? You have to suspend belief. It's like, if you had a magic wand, or as I like to say, because I love Tim Tams, if you had a never-ending pack of Tim Tams and every Tim Tam represented a pillar of your life, like, what would it, if you had no restrictions, no limitations, like, what would your life look like? What would your career or business look like? And that it is difficult, right? Because, as I mentioned, like, a lot of the time we aren't given this guidance early on in our life. We're distracted by daily life. So it's really giving yourself permission and the time to not only write your vision, but to think big as well, and to come from a place of, if there weren't any restrictions or limitations, what would I really want for myself? Because when we dream big, when we think big, then that's when we get really excited about what's possible, and we can then, start to pull the steps or take action to make that vision come to life. And, I say, why not? When you're 99 years old, looking back on your life, what regrets are you going to have? So, and I know it's kind of morbid to kind of, end a question on that, but it really is, right? We have finite time. So really think about, what it is that I really want. If there were no limitations, when I'm looking back on my life, what it is that I want to achieve, and who's the person that I want to be.
Yeah, I think that's a great spot to wrap up today. So I will be including Di's Calendly link in the follow-up email today if you wanted to book in a time to chat with Di, hear her amazing stories and get some more insights on what you can do with your personal vision. You also would have seen a survey pop up on your screens. We'd really love to hear from you. We want to know what you enjoyed. We want to know what you'd like to hear about in the future. And also, if you'd like to be more involved in the Redbirds community, we'd love to have you. So we are welcoming new mentors to the community. If that's of interest, please indicate in the survey and someone from the Redbirds team will reach out. But Di, thanks so much again for sharing your insights on personal vision. Definitely some really good insights to take away and think about. So appreciate your time, and thanks for everyone for joining, and we'll see you again very shortly.
Yeah, thank you everyone, and thanks Tegan and Redbirds.